The Weavers by Jenny Nelson, illustrated by Jeannie Markowsky. Dedication in loving memory of Nani Eliza and Nani Hannah, with many thanks to Florence Davidson, Grace Wilson, Amanda Edgars, Carrie Weir, Primrose Adams, Nora Bellis, and Mary Swanson. We are weavers, weavers of cedar, weavers of spruce. Our grandmothers would weave the bark of the cedar tree for mats and for hats. They would weave capes to shed the rain. They wove the cedar into baskets. The baskets would be filled with seaweed, clams, or roots. They wove cedar bark into rope for hanging baskets and for halibut fishing. Our grandmothers would weave the roots of the spruce tree into good rain hats. They could make cooking baskets and water baskets. These baskets would not leak. Spruce roots were woven into big gathering baskets called Gwaii. These were hung on their backs for seaweed gathering. They wove small covered baskets called kiju, for small things. My grandmother learned from her grandmother how to weave cedar bark. She learned how to weave spruce roots. In days long past, the people used baskets instead of pots and pans. They used baskets instead of plastic buckets, paper bags, or cupboards. Later, they also made baskets for trade. First, we must gather the bark from the cedar tree. The sky is light. The wind blows from the north. It will not rain today. We go into the forest. It is dark. It is old. When we go into the forest for cedar, we walk with our grandmothers. It is spring. The sap will be flowing beneath the bark. The bark will come off easily. It is a good time for gathering cedar. The cedar trees stand so straight and tall. They are having a race to see which one can be the first to touch a cloud. I look for trees green on top, without low branches. I look for red and yellow cedar. I say a special thank you quietly, just from me to the tree. I cut a line with my knife a few feet above the ground, not too wide, or it'll be hard to pull. I grab the bark and tug. The bark peels up with a sound like a tickle. It's not a sad sound. The tree doesn't say ouch. At last the bark slips off. The trunk of the tree looks pale and slippery, smooth without its skin. But I didn't take too much, so the tree will keep growing. Now we must clean the outer bark away with our knives. Then we'll fold each long piece carefully into little cedar bundles. We tie each one with cedar strips. We sit by our grandmother's creek. The creek flows out of the dark forest into the sea. We tell stories and laugh at our own jokes. At home, the bark is split in half. It is hung outside like washed clothes. It is left to dry with the sun, with the wind. Then it is bundled again and stored for winter weaving. Today I'm going to weave. The bark is soaking in a big tub. The cedar must be kept wet so that it can be bent without breaking. I have red cedar. I cut it into long, wide strips. Yellow cedar is stronger. It can be split thinner than red cedar. The basket is started at the bottom with a flat weave. The cedar strips are then bent up to make the sides. Thin strips of yellow cedar twist in and out of the red cedar. This will keep it strong and tight. The basket begins to grow. My tools are my apron and a small sharp knife. I use my knife to split the strips. It takes time to make a basket, but the work feels good in my hands. Around and around the basket is turned. The sides of the basket grow higher and higher. I use a special weave at the top to keep the edge firm. It is finished. Now you can take this basket and fill it with berries for me. When I weave the forest into my rain hat. I weave with my grandmother. The dancing is coming back to us. More and more people want to learn the dances and the songs. The singing and dancing may tell a story. They can make people sad or full of laughter. They can make people feel proud and strong. There are welcome dances and love songs and songs to make people remember. The weaving and the singing and the dancing join hands to make a circle. I will give this hat to my grandson for the dancing. Haida, Gwaii, formerly known as the Queen Charlotte Islands. This book belongs to Caitlyn Rose and Jean Jeffrey Davidson. Great-great-grandmother on front cover, Florence Davidson.